Chair, if you can call this meeting to order,
I just thought I just
the
did.
date and the time.
Oh, the date. It is March 18th, 2015, and it's 6:36 and 27 seconds, and we're counting down.
Thank you.
Okay, Pledge of Allegiance. Who wants to do that? All of us. Okay. Who wants to lead it? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, someone bring out a song. Okay. Roll call? I don't know who does that.
Rosaline Philippi,
Philip?
Shana Magloire Falon,
Present.
Dottie Joseph. Present. Michael McDermott. Present. Polly Cohen,
Present.
Mary Esteban Urban, Mr. Vasti Durable. Chair, you have a point.
Thank you. Has everyone read the minutes?
Yes.
Do we approve them? Okay, the minutes have been approved.
Wait, we have to vote.
Oh, we have to vote for what?
He moved, I seconded, and we have to.
Oh,
Yeah.
say aye.
If
What
all
is it?
approve the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Minutes have been approved.
Guys, forgive me, this is my first time, okay? All right, any communications with anybody in regards to this documents?
Any communications between a board member and an applicant, anything? None?
No
Regarding a
communication.
matter? Okay,
No.
thank you.
We don't, so what do we do from here?
Go ahead.
I'm trying to do that.
We'll begin with the announcement of the to the audience of the variance process.
Good evening, members of the Board of Adjustment. Good evening, everybody. Those are quasi-judicial items that may either be approved, denied, or approved with conditions. For each item, when the petition is announced, the applicant shall approach the microphone and state his or her name and address for the record. If you wish to comment upon any of these items, please indicate your interest to address the board when the announcement regarding the quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity for anyone to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and city staff have made their presentations on each item. Please speak directly into the microphone and state your name and address for the record and your comments to the board. Thank you.
Give me a hint.
Madam Chair, if I may, I will give the oath, the judicial oath.
All right.
Anyone desiring to speak this evening, please stand and raise your right hand. Anyone desiring, including applicants, anyone desiring to speak on any one of these items, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. You may be seated.
So we move on to the first.
I believe the minutes were already approved, so we'll begin with the, there's no communications and there's no continued items, so we will proceed with the first item, V1-15. You may proceed, Mr.
The first item is a special exception to approve a proposed automobile dealership with ancillary service center and parking garage at the property located at 1995 Northeast 142nd Street in the M1 district. A brief project summary. The project site is an assemblage of 3 parcels in totaling 165,510 square feet or 3.73 acres. It stretches from Northeast 142nd Street and Northeast 143rd Street along the FEC Railroad line in proximity of Biscayne Boulevard. The applicant, Dynamic Engineering, is present tonight with the consent of the owner of the 3 parcels. Actually, they are in the process of, buying those properties, and then they have a contract on the property. Which the actual owner is 142 Realty LLP. They propose to demolish the existing industrial structure on the property and redevelop the site with a brand new state-of-the-art, 113,703 square feet, 4-story Audi automobile dealership that will provide employment, full-time employment to 82 people. The new facility will include sales, service, reception, parts, and all the ancillary uses, that are, customary to a dealership of that magnitude. Typical hours of operation, will be from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Thursday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Friday, and 10 to 6 on Saturday. Service center will be open from 8 to 6 Monday to Friday, 9 to 1 on Saturday. And this item was reviewed on the criteria set forth in section 3-504 of the Land Development Regulations. And then, as you have in the staff report before you, and then we have reviewed that application, based on its merit, and I found that special exception use to be appropriate for the area. And then we have attached certain conditions to this approval, and which also I may want to go over some of them with you. That a site plan shall be submitted to and meet with the approval of the city DRC committee prior to the submittal of an application for building permit. That the use comply with all applicable requirements of DERM and other state or county agencies. And that a certificate of use from the Community Development and Planning Department be only issued upon compliance with all terms and conditions of this approval. So basically, this is just another automobile dealership, and then as required in section 4-03, a 403, that requires special exception approval from the city, from the Board of Adjustment, and we have reviewed it, and then we have made a recommendation for approval, subject to those conditions and that I've previously listed.
Does anyone have comments?
Applicant.
The applicants?
The applicant, please step up. You have heard staff's recommendation and report. As a point of order, Madam Chair, I would like to indicate on the record that at approximately 4:15 p.m. this afternoon, I did receive, thankfully, a power of attorney allowing the applicant to come forward and speak on behalf of the property owner, 142 Realty LLP. So we have proper standing for these proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you.
You may proceed. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Mark Whitaker. I'm a principal with Dynamic Engineering.
Is it on? Is the little green light on there?
Can you hear now?
Okay. Yeah, you may want to put it closer to you.
1904 Main Street, Lake Como, New Jersey.
Welcome to the Sunshine State.
Thank you. We've been working with, I'm the civil engineer for the project. John Bono's from Group 1 Automotive, and Dave Clears from Clear Architectural. He's the architect for the project. We've been working with Nixon on this particular project for the last several months in putting the application package together that's in front of you tonight. I believe that Nixon eloquently has summarized the special exception request that we've made to the Board of Adjustment, and we appreciate you considering it tonight for approval.
Any more? Would you like to expand on some of the details of your project for the record?
Sure. The two-dimensional color site plan rendering with Mr. Clear is holding is the property for the dealership. It's a proposed Audi dealership. It's a 4-story dealership, 113,703 square feet. It has rooftop parking. We have 60 at-grade parking spaces around the perimeter of the dealership building. We're also proposing a parking deck which holds approximately 750 parking spaces. We're proposing access on northeast 142nd Street pretty much consistent with what's there now. Two full-way driveways, or full movement driveways, and that will basically accommodate auto car carriers for unloading vehicles at the dealership. We also have access on Northeast 143rd Street. There is currently access on that street. That's also a full movement driveway. That driveway will be primarily gated. The entire property will be fenced and there'll be gates, but that access will most likely be gated, closed most of the time. Other elements of the project we've proposed, I mean, it's conceptual in nature, but we have proposed significant landscaping around the perimeter of the site. Right now, the property is almost entirely impervious surface. We're reducing that, providing some pervious coverage, and propose to basically mimic the Lexus dealership that's on our southerly property boundary, and try to mimic the type of landscaping that they've implemented at that facility. Do you want to speak anything about the architecture? It's basically consistent with Audi's requirements throughout the country. This will be an iconic Audi dealership in the country, one of the largest in the country. At 113,000 square feet, it's a fairly large dealership, but it's fairly consistent with the Lexus dealership, which is across the street.
Okay. You mentioned that you, Madam Chair,
Yeah, please.
you mentioned that there's a proposed parking deck. Is that reflected on this rendering?
The parking deck is basically on the westerly side of the dealership building. It's reflected in the architectural elevation and the floor plans that were submitted as part of the application. But it occupies about, I guess, half of the western side of the building.
Let the record reflect that we're now joined by Ms. Philippe, who is our chair.
If I may add to what the applicant say, this project or this development will have to go to the DRC. That would be a requirement for them. And any other, conditions that the board may want to impose on this application in terms of architectural features, I mean, I think that would be the perfect time to do that. Because although we would have to review that, thoroughly when at the time of site plan review, this is basically a conceptual plan. I mean, they're still working on it. There will be further review, because this is basically not a site plan review per se. This is just to establish the use as it's required in the code to establish in the industrial district. That will have to go to the proper site plan review process, and then if the board, has any concern or issue or condition they want to add to it, and I think, that is the right time to do so.
You're basically looking at a conceptual plan, is not detailed. It doesn't have to be detailed at this stage. The details will come in at the DRC level. At that point, they would have to provide the committee a more detailed or precise plan indicating everything. And then at that point, that's when that plan will be hashed out. And you won't be looking at this box per se. You'll be looking at what was just described as perhaps the dealership, close in the proximity. It's something like that. It'll be probably something like that. But that's coming. That's henceforth. Right now, we're only basically trying to approve the use at this stage.
So they would come back for.
Well, they won't come back before this board. It will come back before the DRC, the Development Review Committee. Yeah, and that's where the details would be hashed out.
Hashed out.
So I guess in light of your comments, are there any conditions or anything that staff would recommend at this juncture?
I mean, we have put in those typical conditions, but given that was in the site plan review process, the DRC process, because with the DRC, the advantage of the DRC is that all the departments would come together to review the plans, not just, planning and zoning, but public works would be involved, police would be involved, and other department, as we may see fit, would be involved in that process. That would be a collective effort to review that. And then we also have a Merrill, which is an architectural firm that we have within their professional services. And then they will also look at some of the architectural elements, to make sure that it's the right fit for that corridor, because it is one of the busiest, corridor that we have in the city. We're pretty sure that, you know, they will put, you know, a project that is really, I mean, that would make a statement on that corridor, but on our part, we also have to ensure that we cannot just rely on them, but we have to make sure that it really fits, you know, the vision that the city has for the corridor.
I guess what I'm asking is, because we're not at that second step of the site plan approval, and that's not gonna come back before us, is there anything that you'd like us to address with the applicant at this juncture? That,
Well,
right now, I think, I for myself am inclined to approve, the use request. It's not on? Oh, sorry. Sorry, okay, thank you.
start all over.
I did too. I was just following your lead. No, just kidding. And I know your hands are probably tired. You can put that down. We've seen it. Thank you. You're so kind. Bless your heart. At least you got like a bicep workout or something. But is there anything that you'd like us to say
Well,
or
on
do?
page 6, there is actually several conditions already articulated, and this is for the special exception. The applicant is here before you not only for a special exception, the applicant's also here to obtain 3 variances which are critical to the plans and their proposed development. Those variances, if approved this evening, will be conditioned upon them satisfying, the applicant satisfying all the conditions imposed by the DRC. So one is tied into the other. We have the special exception with the stated conditions. You'll find them on page 6 and 7 of your staff
Yeah.
report. And also the variances, the language of each variance, if approved this evening, will contain the provision and the precondition that they satisfy all the conditions imposed by the DRC to this project. So everything will be.
Is this a lesser use for this area?
This is a special exception use, which is appropriate for the area. Yes, ma'am. This is the property zoned industrial or M1.
And then that's where the code allows, you know, automobile dealership to be established in the industrial area.
It does specifically state that.
Specifically. And then, and right now, what sits there is just an empty hangar that's been sitting vacant for years, you know. And then, as you may remember, I heard it used to be a disco place, you know, back
Yes,
in
it
the old
was.
days. In the old
It was
days.
a dance hall
It was a dance hall.
before a meatpacking place.
I do believe, and I'm sorry, did we open up public hearing or are we just still at
We
It was
haven't,
still with the
presentation?
applicant.
Okay,
we haven't.
I'll let them.
We were waiting for you to open public hearing.
I guess the only comment I would have for the applicants, I know that you mentioned that you were planning on mimicking essentially what the Lexus dealership has, and I would just suggest maybe you take it a step further
No,
and not go for just Lexus and go for Audi.
exactly.
Carry on.
Down the road. Okay,
That will be done.
okay.
All right. you wanna-
So, anyone in the audience for or against this particular item? Well, with that being said, any additional board discussion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Rosaline Phillips,
Yes.
Donna Medora Guan,
Yes.
Dottie Joseph,
Yes.
Michael McDermott,
Yes.
Holly Cole,
Yes.
Okay, this
got it.
portion has been approved. And I guess you'll stay up for the next one? Okay.
By the way, the rendering does show Audi North Miami Beach, but that will be promptly,
Corrected.
the beach part needs to be eliminated from those plans.
Unless you put some
No,
sand
we
on
already
the
done
top
They've
floor.
already done that.
I thought we had already removed that.
Not that we want to mock our next door neighbor.
That has been addressed already.
Oh,
So
you
this
got a
is
new
V
rendition?
dash
Okay.
2-15,
North
Dynamic Engineering, 1995 Northeast 142nd Street. Mr. LeBrun, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Again, this is the second part, as Deputy City Attorney, you know, mentioned earlier of this application, that requests like, you know, 3 variances, you know, from the terms of our land development regulations. The first one involves a variance of lot coverage of 92.4, where the maximum lot coverage permitted in the industrial district in the M1 is 75%. The second variance has to do with a waiver of the sidewalk requirements along the frontage of the proposed dealership on northeast, on the northern boundary, which is northeast 143rd Street. And the third variance, deals with the minimum landscape open space, which is required within the interior parking area. They're proposing to have less than the 15%, which is the required minimum of the code. As you have heard the applicant, so I did not have to go to give you another summary of the project. Those variances, were reviewed on the section Article 3, Division 6 in Section 306, and they have to meet like at least 4 of the 6 criteria established in that section, which is, whether or not there are special conditions and circumstances that exist, which are peculiar to the land structure or building involved, and which are not applicable to other land structures or buildings in the same zoning districts. Whether the second criteria is whether the unusual circumstances or conditions necessitating a variance request are present in the neighborhood and are not unique to the property. The third criteria is whether or not the requested variance maintains the basic intent and purpose of the code as it affects the stability and appearance of the neighborhood. The fifth is whether the literal interpretation of the provision of these LDRs would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same zoning district under the term of these LDRs. The other criteria is whether the variance is a minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land structure or building. And the last one, not least, is whether the granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of these LDRs. So again, we have reviewed each variance, under the requirements on the criteria set forth in the code. And they have, all 3 variants have met at least 4 of those criteria as specified in the code for the granting of a variance approval by the Board of Adjustment. And again, staff has made a recommendation to approve those variances, and then subject to the conditions that all the conduct will be imposed on the project, at the time of DRC approval, and also subject to the condition that was also already imposed to the special exception use approval. And so staff has made a recommendation to approve this item in its entirety.
Okay. I guess we don't need another presentation from the applicant? Okay. I'll again open up. Do you have additional things? Okay.
From Jersey, they're very quiet.
I'll open public hearing. Anyone for or against? Forever hold your peace. Okay.
Madam Chairman?
Yes, Mr. McDermott.
To approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Board discussion. Ms. Cohen? Ms. Joseph? Okay, roll call?
I'll just say that I'm pleased to be having new businesses in North Miami.
I know.
That's all.
Yes.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Welcome.
Yes.
Philippe. Diana
We're gonna help you.
Each time
We're gonna
it
help
comes up
you.
with a
Getting worse and
totally
worse.
different, pronunciation, but it's okay. I know it's me. So I'll say yes.
Just say yes.
I'll just say.
I'm just kidding. Yes.
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 Okay, it's been approved. Thank you.
You're approved.
You're
Hey,
approved.
welcome, gentlemen.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome to
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Probably can't afford your cars, but
So I hope that trip was a pleasant one. We'll make you for care.
Good luck.
Thank you very
guys.
much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Proceed.
that's true. That's true. Before, just one thing. Wasn't there something else we approved similar, like a dealership like that a few years back within that same area? My mind.
Lexus?
No, something else. approve, Lexington. I'm thinking of a smaller thing.
Near the railroad.
Oh, the
Yeah,
Fiat.
okay.
But I don't think they came to you. They
No, no, but I think
Yeah.
probably the museum or something.
Or the museum,
it-
yes, the museum.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, I'm
yes.
thinking, you see,
True.
everything gets jumbled up.
It's all of the above, actually.
I know, all of
Okay,
the above.
bartender.
All right, our next case, excuse me, I didn't move on, is, let me take it from here. V-315, Moise, that's the proper pronunciation. And Fortuna, and I cannot help the last one.
Bichachi.
Bichachi.
There you go.
Thank you.
How are you?
624-26 Northeast 124th Street.
How are you? My name is Moises
Hi.
Pichachi. This is my wife, Fortuna. We're the principal owners of ELCI Construction Group.
Hold on, please. I will let Ms.
Oh,
Sullivan
sorry about
present the
that.
case first. I know, when you're late, everything goes awry.
Just tell me what to do.
Sorry.
Yes,
Be quiet.
this application is for variance, to allow, a proposed accessory structure, to a principal structure located at 6224-626 Northeast 124th Street. And they propose to have a 2-foot side setback for the accessory structure, as opposed to the 10-foot that is required in that district, the C3 district. And they also propose a 1-foot side a wheel setback, as opposed to the 10-foot that is required in the C3 district. And I'll brief a background of the subject property. This is a mid-block, undersized, irregularly shaped property of 7,200 square feet, located right in the downtown, not too far from City Hall. And then it has been developed with a 1-story building, 2,790 square feet, since 1945, before the city was even adopted its first, zoning code. The owner on record, Mr. Moises Bichachi, is proposed to build, they have run out of space, and they propose to build a 609 square foot storage building in the rear of the property. And is therefore filing this petition to get a relief from the terms of the C3 district as it pertains into accessory uses. Again, the criteria under which those variants were reviewed involved, whether the special conditions are peculiar to the land, whether, those unusual circumstances are present in the neighborhood, whether the requested variance maintain the basic intent and purpose of the zoning code, whether or not the literal interpretation of this regulation would deprive the applicants of rights commonly enjoyed by other surrounding property owners, whether or not the variance is the minimum that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, and whether or not the granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of this LDR. And as you can see in the report that is before you, at least all of the 6 criteria, the applicant seems to have met, given the particularity of its lot. That was developed before the city has any sort of subdivision regulation, even less zoning regulations. And then the lot is kind of carved out in the back, which make it even more difficult for the applicant to meet, at a minimum, the side setbacks. And then given the rear setback, it's in mid-block property, and there's surrounded by other properties already. It would not have any impact or any privacy impacts, on the surrounding properties, in that area. And then this board have approved, similar, variances within this area. So staff it thinks that would be an appropriate use for the property, given the unusual circumstances that made a recommendation for approval.
If I may, as a point of order, Madam Chair. There are 2 variances that are being applied for. The property is on a C3 commercial zoning district, and the first variance is to allow a proposed accessory structure to a principal structure located at such 624-26 Northeast 124th Street to have a 2 feet setback from the side east property line. The second variance being variance to section 4-303 to allow the same proposed accessory structure to a principal structure located at 624-26 Northeast 124th Street to have a 1-foot setback from the rear south property line. I would like to add that the title is incorrect as far as the district, what is allowed is not 5 feet as stated, but actually 10. So I'd like to make that correction for the record.
It's in
Thank
here.
you.
It says
It's
10.
in there, okay.
Yeah, it's in here.
All right, then thank you, you got an updated one, I didn't. So-
Sorry.
You just don't know the right people.
Apologize.
Go figure.
Okay. All right, is that it, Mr. LeBron?
That's it.
Okay, now, Mr. Bichachi, you can state your name and address and then go on.
Okay, my name is Moises Pichachi, my wife Otuna Pichachi. We've been, we've had our business here for about 5 years in ELCI Construction, right off Northeast 124th Street. We bought the building, a dilapidated building, basically, and we basically gutted out the building, only leaving the outside structure of the building, and we made it into a brand-new building. So we spent close to maybe $250,000 to remodel and beautify the building. It's gotten to a point where, you know, we've pretty much outgrown the building. And as Mr. Nixon was saying, the way the property is located behind an alley, it's been very difficult for us to be able to expand, and we need to expand. So this is why we are, you know, before you for your decision to allow us to continue to expand and stay in the city of North Miami.
Okay, thank you. I'll open public hearing. Anyone for or against?
Good evening, Board of Adjustment members and staff. Annie Montgomery, 2082 Laurel Lane. This is on, yeah. I can barely hear any of you in the back. You really need to speak into the microphones over there. Mr. Cohen, especially you. Yeah, I can't hear you.
I'm so
That's
loud.
unusual.
I'm so loud.
All right, getting to the subject property. The gentleman just stated he had put $500,000 into it. Well, it certainly doesn't look that way from the front.
250.
Well, whatever. This, please don't have, this picture that you have shown looks like the parking spaces are for this building. They're not. They're public parking spaces, and the length of time you can park there is 2 hours. That's the extent of time that a car can be left there. The city put up signs about a year ago, and they have marked the tires on cars, so that those parking spaces are open to the public. Very, very limited parking on that street or that area. You come around off 6th Avenue, 124th, it's one way, and people tend to park right by the corner, right by the handicap spaces. There are 2, but they park on the corner where there's no parking space. It's an accident on the way to happen. The purpose of this accessory structure wasn't stated. What type of business that is being operated in that building, which I thought had been vacant. There's been a sign, a dilapidated sign for sale on that building for quite a while. It was still there yesterday. Mr. Dixon, why are you smiling? Oh, okay, just curious. Yeah. This property, was it ever posted that there was going to be, that there was a variance? I didn't see that sign that there was a hearing for a variance. Usually that's one of the recommendations of our city, to post it so that people walking can see it. No, it was not there. No. The structure that they're intending to put on there, it looks like it's taken from, I have the plans, the parking. There were 4 parking spaces in the back, and it looks that's where the structure that they're wanting to build. With a 1-foot setback and a 2-foot setback, that's ridiculous. This building went into foreclosure in '08. I think that's how they received it. I checked the deed. There are no stamps on the deed, so I have no idea what they paid for it. It's really should be open to the public. And I think this is a very bad move on our staff's decision-making. So I would recommend that this board do not approve this. Thank you.
Okay, I guess we can entertain board discussion since there are no other public. Go ahead.
With respect to the question of notice, is notice sufficient for us to even entertain this?
Yes, well, first of all, it was publicized as in the Miami Herald, so there is proper notice there. And also, all the properties in a 500 foot radius were mailed notices as well. So notice is proper.
Excuse me one more second. No, they were not noticed because my daughter did not get them notice. Thank you.
Can I ask a
Any
question?
other board?
Can we,
Yeah,
Ms. Montgomery? Can we ask, your daughter should have gotten a notice? She is within that, she's in the boundary?
For the record, would you state her address? Say that, I can't hear what you're saying. And just for the purpose of the record, if you would speak into the mic, that would be great.
Thank you. I'm not at liberty to say that, and I did take a note that I was tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
Okay.
can I
As
ask a
part of your
question?
packet, the copy of the ad that appeared in the Miami Herald is included in your packet.
Are there no parking requirements for the building?
Not if they have
There's an exemption in the downtown area. If any property is located within 200 feet of any municipal parking lot, they are not required to provide on-site parking.
And there's a municipal parking lot?
Yes, within
nearby?
200. And then within the area bounded by 124th, 129th, 6th Avenue, and all the way to Northeast 10th Avenue.
Okay, and then a follow-up question. Let's just say for the sake of argument that the notices weren't sent to the residents within the 500 radius, but the posting was sufficient. Is that sufficient in and of itself, the publication?
Yes, actually, what is required under the code is that the city mails, not that somebody received it. So, and the city goes by the property owners that are listed in Miami-Dade County records.
Okay, and we're confident that that was done? That was,
That's part of staff's report.
okay.
And,
Just making sure that the record's clear.
If you turn to page 6 of your staff report, there's a section there that indicates public notification/comments. You'll see the posting and notification history of this particular item.
I mean, and the list that we obtain is by our certified, property appraiser, which the applicant, he provided, and then those are certified, property appraiser. That's where we get those lists, and then that's what the label that we use to send out those mail notices.
Can I just ask a procedural question? If you have a setback of 10 feet, and someone buys a building that just all of a sudden now is no longer big enough, the need to increase the space or usable space for that office, is that sufficient to go against the actual setback and say it's the minimum, use or that can be done? I mean, to me, to put in a storage area, I have a storage area. I go to, I pay for it. Not in my house. I pay for something else because that's it. I mean, is it enough to just say, I need it, and therefore we can go against all these setbacks?
I mean,
And say it's the minimum
two
use
things I
and-
can
and
say.
it's valid?
I mean, as a matter of procedure, this is not the first, setback variance that that this board has approved, for other property owners, with the same need in this area. And then, like I said in the report, those are, non-conforming lots which were, subdivided prior to any subdivision regulations. There will be those can justify, the unusual circumstances.
But, he bought it knowing what the size was.
No,
And
but-
that, you come to a problem, and, it's,
No, I mean, I agree with you, but the variance has to do with the lot itself, the configuration, not the ownership.
okay. I understand
No,
that, but
so, I mean, that's what
if
I'm
I
saying.
buy a house that's too small for me and all of a sudden I want to build more onto it because I need more room, does that give me the valid reason to go 9 feet beyond that which I'm entitled to be, where there's a setback of 10 and you're going to 1, just seems.
No, I understand, but if you look at the
Depending on
existing,
the shape of your home, your lot, and where your house is
Okay, I should
positioned.
go buy a small lot and then I could go.
and then
No.
even
Build
if
it
you look at the
whichever way I
existing
want.
structure on the property, it doesn't have any setbacks, on the side either.
No, I
and then,
understand
and
that.
then you see, I mean, this is an unusual circumstance. I mean, staff, have to look at this application on its own merit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's up to the board to make that decision whether or not they should grant that variance, because you have that authority. We only can look at it from a land use perspective and see, giving the set of circumstances, what would be the best the most appropriate use for that. And then this is a downtown area where we're trying to promote development, and we're trying to intensify development, eliminating all setback variances, bring the building to the line, to the line. So, I mean, the notion of variances right now in the downtown is a non-issue, really, because of the downtown master plan, all we're trying to achieve through the downtown development master plan.
I have a couple of
Madam
questions.
Chair- Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. McDermott, you first.
Madam Chairman, through you to the applicant. What kind of business do
We're in
you,
the construction business.
this is a construction business?
Yes, we have our offices there.
And why do you need the shed?
It's not a shed, it's a metal building. Don't,
Well, what's it gonna house?
It's gonna have files, we have a lot of,
Plans.
do a lot of work for the federal government that requires a lot of paperwork that we need to store for a certain amount of time. We have office supplies,
And you're gonna put this on a separate concrete slab?
that's correct.
All right, Mr. McDermott, are you done?
I have a question. I just want to know, when you construct this, this structure, how long is that going to last for? Like, what do you suspect, like, in terms of looking at a long-range plan? Do you think that this is going to be now a permanent fix to the issues you have?
Yeah,
Or-
absolutely, yeah. Yes, I think, basically, we're happy here in the city. Like I said, we've been here for, I think, 8 years already. We bought the building in 2008. And, it's very, very well located for us, we made it our home, and we want to stay there.
Madam, oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to know that that metal structure, will it look like, as much as possible, belong to the rest of the building? I mean, I understand it will be a metal structure and it's different from the home, but I just want to know, in terms of aesthetically, how will it look in terms of, is it something, if I'm driving by, that it will look as if it's, it blends in?
Okay, first of all, if you're driving by, you can't see it,
Well,
because it's
it's
an
in the
alley.
back. Yeah, I know.
You can't see the building, nobody can see the building. And we can paint the building or to the same color of our present building, which is a light green color, with, and it has,
have another question. That alley in the back, what is it used for presently? Will it destroy, is it going to interrupt?
Well, it's used for access. By the way, that's where we park now, and we intend to continue parking, because once we build a building, we still have space available to park in the back. We don't park in front of the building. I'm sorry, what was the question?
No, I was wondering the use of the
Oh,
alley in the back.
well, the use of it's an alley. People park there illegally. It's just it's an alley. It's an entrance to a lot of the properties that are there. There's a dental office that has the entrance through there, through the rear, and there's an apartment building on 123rd Street and Northeast 6th Avenue that has the parking through that alley. There is our office that has it, and there's another building on the, I would say it's Northeast 7th Street, Northeast 7th Avenue, between 123rd and 124, that also has entrance through the rear of the building.
I think there's no question, though, that a lot of people use that alley as access. So you're gonna lose some access as well as you're gonna lose some parking.
No, you won't lose any access. It's not in anybody's property.
Well, it's,
Can you speak into the microphone?
It's
For the
not
record.
anybody's access.
And I'm sorry, but I don't know if you've stated your name and address
I'm
for the record.
sorry.
If you may,
Yeah,
proceed, go ahead.
the-
No, you can speak, but just,
My name is Fortuna Bichachi,
Bring it closer.
and it's not gonna be in anybody's access. It's not gonna hurt anybody's parking, anybody's anything. It's in our property line. It's inside our parking area. It's inside our line.
It's within our property.
It's within our
The buildings surrounding us, all the buildings that are around us have built to the property line. They have not left, what's being required of me today, in today's zoning, the setbacks that I'm being required to comply with were not, the buildings that are around us are not. They've been built to the property lines.
well, if you
So
put a metal shed there, you will lose some parking.
I will lose 2 parking, yes.
Madam Chair, may I have indulged just for one question, please?
Mr. Attorney, I guess.
Well, there's nobody else here, so
there's,
just
have
one
you
question.
have you closed,
Well, no,
No.
we did not, so.
My question is to this board. How many of you have gone past this building and looked at it and looked at the situation there? Any one of you? You
it's-
did, okay.
yeah,
It's access there is terrible. 123rd Street has the same use of this alley, people on 123rd and 124th. And I think it's an easement alley is what it is for Florida Power and Light and water.
Yeah, most likely.
So it's an easement alley, and it's not really an alley to drive through. It's, the purpose of the alley is for utilities to be able to go in there and work on the lines and that when necessary. So, I took a ride past the building, and I strongly recommend you do not approve this. Thank you.
Just to,
All
I
right,
guess, continue.
for- I'm sorry.
Madam Chair.
For being on the record, we'll close public hearing. Okay, now. Okay. Now we can go on. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, my apologies. I guess you made a comment just earlier. You said that the other buildings have already are actually built to their property lines.
That's correct.
So, meaning your property is actually set like in or
No,
is that what-
my
is that how
property,
you- is that
my
what you
property
mean?
has the appropriate setbacks in the front and in the sides, and in the rear. And by the way, the building's not for sale. It's for rent. There's 2 offices there, our offices, and then there's a space next door.
So you
If
do
if
have
I may,
space.
if I may, can I show the committee that we did post a sign? And we did take a picture of it, if it means anything.
Mr. Bichachi is showing a photograph of what appears to be the city of North Miami's posting of the sign.
I don't know if it's possible to put that in the record.
That's stating it so that it's part of the record.
Okay.
And that posting says what? Oh, okay. Couldn't see it? Oh, okay. So you have space in that building for rent? Is that what you just said?
Yes, we just had a vacancy. We had for 3 years, we had online vitamin company that was vacated.
So in essence, you do have place for this in your building. So you didn't outgrow your building, you just want to keep that space for rent.
That's correct.
They do have space.
Or that might be your future growth also in the future.
Any other comments, any questions from the board? Yes, no? I just have to clarify for me, on page 2 of the application, where that line is drawn around the applicant's property. So, in essence, in that back alley, you are eliminating something like 4 parking spaces that you currently, well, you or anybody else may enjoy.
That's correct. We are eliminating 4 parking spaces and we're moving 2.
Okay.
No, it's 4. It's 4. And we can still add 2 additional parking spaces once the way the building's going to be located.
No, I just, yeah, that they are eliminating, and I just wanted to figure out where they're putting this. So, in essence, they're the one that's losing out of it.
Madam
Okay.
Chairman, I can tell you, parking is at a premium there on that whole neighborhood. It's just, people are double parking there all the time because there's just no spaces. And I understand about the 200 feet, but unfortunately, people don't want to walk 200 feet. So,
Especially in the rain.
yeah. So,
You mean to the public parking, to
it's
the
public
municipal parking?
Yeah, yeah.
I've done it.
And that's another thing too, the handicap spaces there, people are constantly parking in the handicap spaces that aren't handicapped. And it's due to the fact that there's, a real lack of parking there.
You know,
I don't know. I don't know if it's a lack of parking. I think it's just folks don't want to walk, as you said.
But either way, they have the parking.
I mean, I think that whole area just it's a parking
Nightmare.
disaster, basically. But I think it would be unfair to hold them responsible for that. What they're asking for, I guess my overarching concern is one of fairness. If everybody else right around them has built right up to that line, and I don't know the circumstances that transpired with the other properties, so, I mean, we can't even really get into that now, but to say that they can't, and it's wholly within their own property line, if they want to lose parking spots, they're the ones who are going to lose out in terms of whatever access they or their tenants are going to have. So it just seems unfair to talk about, to put the ills of the parking of the entire area on them. As it relates to the question of notice, I'm satisfied that proper notice was served. As it relates to some of the other issues raised, it seems like most of those, I want to say, more alarming concerns have been addressed. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Can I just put out something
Please.
else then? On the flip side is, you purchase a building as is. This is an area that was in existence since 1945. These buildings were built at that time. When you move in and you buy it, you look at your zoning, you look at what you got and you look at what you're gonna be able to do with it. And to all of a sudden say, I need more space, and yet rent out the space next to them that they own, to me, is not being unfair. It's saying, okay, you bought it this way, this is what you're stuck with, as everyone else is. I mean, yeah, they don't have, you know, they built it up to their property line, then they should have bought that building that was built to that property line. You know, and that, you can't.
That's
you
assuming it
know,
was for
and same thing, I mean, fairness is fairness.
I'm not there in terms of fairness in that. Ms. Lebrun, you said one thing. You said according to the downtown master plan, this is the path that, if you would
Well, I mean,
rephrase.
one of the intended vision of the master plan is really to intensify development in the downtown area, eliminating, you know, the need for on-site parking. This is why we have that recommendation, because for any really development to happen in the downtown, given there has to be some assemblage of lot. There have to be land assembly. And then most of those lots that exist currently in the downtown area, they all non-conforming. I mean, if they were to meet the C3 regulations, because that's why we had, not long ago, we had other places coming, you know, asking for the same type of variance that are before you tonight. I mean, not for accessory structure, but for expansion. And so it's because those lots were created before there was any a subdivision regulations within the city. Talking about 1945, the first city zoning code was 1958. So, I mean, and those are the issues, so those are the circumstances that created, you know, those type, you know, or that warranted, you know, those variances, really. It's not, you know, staff, you know, is for those variances, for the granting of those variances, but we, from a land use standpoint, we have to look at those conditions which warranted, you know, the granting of those variances. And then one of the conditions is the size of those lots, the way they were created, the way they were carved out, and then that, you know, require, you know, those variances.
So as we plan on moving on with the, I'm being redundant here, with the master plan, if we're trying to do mixed use and all that, so we are looking at more of these type of
I mean, not
possibly cases coming before us?
Yeah, but not necessarily in that aspect, because any mixed-use development to take place, it has to be, those property has to be torn down and then rebuilt. And then they will be rebuilt, you know, to the current, you know, land development regulations. And then we have to make, but yet again, so we have, you know, we're trying to bring, you know, to attract, you know, more pedestrian, you know, circulation. All those buildings have to be, toward the street really, bring up to all the way to the front, so we can have, you know, that pedestrian environment to create that buzz for people. That would be more inviting for pedestrians. And then so to allow, you know, the downtown right now within the city by right allowing 110 feet of development. And then with the build to line, not setback, build to line. So I mean, those are the things, you know. On this is a particular case, you know, it's basically for an accessory structure. It's not even for the principal structure. This is just an accessory structure. So, but as we move forward, you know, and then, you know, not long ago, I mean, again, like I mentioned, you know, there were similar variances, you know, approved by the board, you know, on those items, on this type of request.
Can I ask just one question further? Are we trying to beautify our city? I mean, make it more beautiful, more usable and everything? I mean, I wouldn't be adverse for them to build out of their property, but to put in a shed, I don't care.
It's not a shed, ma'am.
Whatever it is, it's not beautifying the city. I mean, they want to build out to their property line and make it a beautiful structure, but then I could see it, that it fits into a master plan, but a master plan to just increase density?
No, my point, I wasn't referring to the accessory structure as implementing the vision of the downtown master plan. And this is, in essence, just an accessory structure located in the back, you know, which will be not even visible from any street. I mean, so, I mean, it's not that I'm, you know, defending the application or not, but when I was mentioning the master plan, we were talking about, you know, the setbacks, what are the uses for setbacks? Setbacks are, typically put in the zoning code back in the Euclidean zoning to separate uses, really, and to allow, proper enjoyment of somebody's property. But, and those, were established at the time when zoning came into place. But now, those properties, again, were built at a time where there was no such thing. And then, it's really up to the board. This is a matter of policy. This is not for staff, because all we can do is give you our best recommendation. Look at, the land use, look at, the surrounding areas, look what has been granted before within that area, and make our recommendation. And then this is just our recommendation.
Well, if I may address Ms. Cohen, you had mentioned that we should have thought about this when we bought the property. And precisely, we bought the property because it had the potential of growth. In other words, in that space that we have in the back, we can put a 3-story building if we wanted to, because we're not required parking, as long as I meet the setbacks. So, yes, when we did buy the property, we saw the potentials that it had that we can add on to the property, because we were not required parking.
Okay, but you just said it. You're not meeting the setbacks.
No, we're not meeting the set, but I can put a building there and meet the
You
setbacks.
would still have to come in front,
No,
no?
I don't have
Alright,
to.
we're not here.
Setbacks?
No, as long as I meet the setbacks, I'm just trying to make the building look nicer.
All right, any
Let 'em build up.
discussion has to be into the
Okay,
record,
alright.
guys.
All right.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Just a question. You mentioned that you're trying to make the building look nicer. How is what you're planning to do going to make it look
Well,
nicer?
if I were to build the building following the setbacks, it would look like a box right in the middle of the parking lot, in the back of the property. And the other way, I have it slanted this way where you can park. I won't lose any parking space. I will still have my 2 parking space available, and it'll look, my opinion, it'll look better.
I don't know if anyone's ready to make a recommendation or what, but I was just about to ask if you had any pictures of what you intended to put, what the structure would look like, because I know it has to be built. This doesn't give us any idea of what it will look like.
Well, we haven't gone to the second step yet. This was the first step that we needed to.
Manufacturer doesn't have,
Oh, yeah, we can put, manufacturer can design whatever we tell them to design. If something is something that you're looking for, we don't have a problem with making it appealing to the vision, to the back of
yeah, I'm just thinking that possibly it might help if people could actually see, what it will look like back
Okay,
there.
This is, I will show you a picture of the company that we're using for the.
Technology.
No thinking aloud.
Let the record reflect that the applicant has submitted a digital photograph of a metal structure.
Which one?
That's,
Which one
this is
is
your
it?
plan of how the back will look, you're saying?
Like I said, I think the board has a vision of a shack, and it's not going to be a shack. We can make it appealing to the. I think that what you're thinking is that we're going to put a Sears build-yourself type of storage thing.
To tell you the truth, I thought it was one box thing, metal, and,
No, we can-
like one of those containers.
No,
Okay, so,
So I guess at this point, it's either we
Is this,
act.
what are we looking at here?
That's it's just that's just a typical building that the manufacturer sent us,
So
giving
this
us
is-
some
this is
ideas of.
exactly what you're gonna build there?
No,
It's
I'm not
not
saying,
exactly
I'm
that.
not gonna say that, sir, right now, because again, I haven't taken the next step of actual design, but, you know, we don't have a problem working with the city and.
We'd like to see.
We would like, how about a motion to table
Yeah,
to
because
allow him
I
time to.
like, I don't like
I
making
second that.
decisions, you know, like in the air like that. I
Okay.
mean, I think, you know, something like that would look good. I mean, and will probably go along, you know, the line, but, you know.
Okay. I think at this juncture, you understand what the concerns are by the various members of the board. We appreciate this sample, but I understand that this is not exactly what you intend to do. And you don't have to give us the exact one, but something to give us
Right.
an idea of what you actually intend to do, as opposed to just what the manufacturer provides. So,
Given the space, given, you know, the restriction that you will have, what is it that you can
You
decide
will only
upon?
see from the alley, you will only see 10 feet. You'll see a building that's 10 feet wide. That's the only thing you're gonna see. Now,
Madam
what
Chairman?
can I do with 10 feet?
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I think
Not
we have a
much.
motion.
So,
we're really trying to help you out here.
Okay, I think we have a motion on the floor.
Okay, what was your motion? I'm
I
sorry, Ms.
move to
Joseph.
table the item so that the applicant can provide some images to give the board a sense of what they plan to put back there in light of the concerns that were raised by certain members of the board.
And I second that.
Okay,
All right, so
all
we're
right,
going to
roll
vote.
call, please.
would, may I show you another picture?
Unless you're sure that this is the kind of image that you intend to put there, then
Yeah,
it would
they're-
be
they're-
fruitless.
They're asking for something a little bit more relevant to your
Yeah.
project, not
Yeah.
per se a metal structure
Okay.
that perhaps is not gonna be built.
Well, could I show you something, if this is something that would appeal to you?
We do have a motion and a second. We'll take a roll call, and trust me, this is best for you. Go ahead.
Whatever your name is, go for it.
My name, Philippe.
Call them what you like.
Good job. Yes.
Closer,
We're getting closer, we're getting closer.
closer.
Aye.
I am in favor of the motion.
So easy.
Yes.
All right. It's only 2 months to our next meeting. Please. Well, 1 month, you know, we meet every 2 months. Just sit with your contractor, I don't know who to call, whoever it is, the representative at, and just decide, look, this is where it's gonna be put, this is what the restriction, let me pick something, and then give us a picture of what it will look like.
Okay.
And then the board will have a easier time at making the decision.
And you can bring multiple images of different things that you're thinking of. You don't have to pick
Yeah.
one single one. That way, it will probably go through faster.
Okay.
If I may add, as a point of order, I would suggest that photographs be included so that we can include them in the packet and not be passing out a
Please,
digital.
yes.
So if you can provide staff with, as opposed to your phone, actual photographs of the images you want this board to consider. And it'll be included in their packet. Thank you.
Is that it?
Okay,
So she
that's it.
Are we done?
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any old business?
Nope.
Any new business?
Nope.
Okay, then.
Move to adjourn.
Wow.
And
Do I
I'll
have a s-
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
By,
you.
by the way, Madam Chair, your vice chair was a bomb today, and I mean that in a positive way.
The bomb.
She was the bomb.
But you know, it's so hard when you're going